We just got back from flying the Ultra Micro Trainer 100 from Aries, and we flew it in a lot of wind.
Yes, we did.
Which, you know, it's kind of an interesting thing. A trainer, if we think of a trainer in the micro size, we talked about this before. It's a traditional or true trainer is an all skills trainer, and it's going to be like a typical or a conventional trainer was, you know, like a 25 or larger size nitro plane that you could take out in 3 to 5 mile an hour winds, not a big deal. This, with the airfoil wing design, we decided that we were going to take it out in some wind.
Yes.
And we did. And it was a little surprising, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was surprising.
Let's go ahead and jump into the details. Now, Rob was the pilot maestro on this one. So, build as advertised. You gave it a 5 out of 5.
Yes, out of the box, it comes ready to go, other than popping in the landing gear. One thing that we did notice with our particular model is it did have a twist, and the tail plane and the main wing and the tail plane are not perfectly parallel.
So there's a twist in the
there's a twist in the fuselage, yeah.
Yep.
But with that said, it didn't make any difference on the flight at all.
It didn't want to go off track when we were doing loops.
And we did get a chance to fly this. You and I did in calm weather.
Yeah,
so
yeah, we did.
We'll
we did a little prior
bit
flight
later,
which it's not typical. We typically don't do that, but we actually got excited enough to toss that one out in the backyard on a calm day, and it didn't track funny at all.
Nope.
Finish, you gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, it's foam. You know, foam's never going to rate at the top of the scale.
Yep.
But with that said, it's again, we've talked about these decals in the past. The decals, I think, are having a lot to do with how good these planes are looking being foam.
Yep. We've got to find out what those decals are.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get to the bottom of that because I'm tired of saying I don't know what they're made of, but they look good.
Power, we gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, that's one of the things that surprised us, I think, both of us, was the power's felt. And in a micro, power can be a bad thing. A lot of power can be a bad thing. It's constantly getting you into trouble as far as making the plane do things that you're really not expecting it to do. With this
one of which is balloon heavily.
Exactly. You get a lot of brr up and down. This one is not like that. It feels like it flies like a bigger plane because of that power, and it's got a pretty good sized prop on it than what we're used to seeing on a micro this size. I don't know. There's just a lot of combinations with it that the power is just very aptly suited for this airframe. It really is.
Now, ground handling, we gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, the ground handling on takeoff, it'll roll straight. Without a steerable tail wheel, you're relying strictly on a rudder and a prop wash that you're getting off the rudder until you get up to speed. But it's really not an issue. You can see on film, I took off nice and gentle. I didn't have to punch it and go.
Yep.
And same thing on the ground. When you land, it rolls out pretty straight.
Yeah, I noticed it kind of drops a little heavy right at the end.
Right at the end, the flare's a little funky on this one when you're coming in.
It kind of whap right down the ground.
But you'll notice when we flew it before, which we don't have on film, but when we flew it before without the landing gear, we didn't have that problem.
Exactly.
It comes right in. It's almost like it's better suited as a ground, as a
belly lander.
As a belly lander, yeah.
Durability, we give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's a tough little thing. We've had a few hits with it, as you notice. I mean, it's a sad day here. We did have a loss on the plane, and that's a nose cone. Funny thing is that that flew off in midair. So that was not due to, that didn't fall off during a strike.
No. There were a couple strikes before that. We may have loosened it.
Yeah, we probably loosened it a couple, but it did fall off. We couldn't find it. It was
That's pretty common, actually, when you're flying micros with the little rubber foam tips. You got to check those things on a pretty regular basis to make sure they're still tight.
The fact that this main wing disconnects on an impact is a lifesaver for the airframe itself. 2
significant impacts we had with it. In both cases, the wing did dislodge.
Yes.
So all of that impact was dissipated through the wing popping off. So. All right, pilot experience now. We're flight as advertised. We gave it in air a 5+. We have to quantify our scoring here. In air we gave it a 5+. On the ground we gave it a 3.5.
Yes.
But overall, flight as advertised, it got a 4.5. So it scored high, and I think that was just, again, due to that 5+ in the air. It was
we'll start with the in air, the 5+. The reason that that scores so high in the air, one thing that you'll notice, and we've said this many times since we've started this review, is this has an airfoil top wing.
And horizontal stabilizer.
And horizontal stabilizer. And what that does is, when you're in a situation where you have a slight breeze, and I'm going to say a slight breeze, because you can't fly this in an all-out wind.
Right.
A slight breeze, what happens with a conventional micro with an under-camber wing is it constantly wants to balloon on you. It always wants to pick up. When you get into a turn, it's got most micros have a strong dihedral with the under-camber, and it'll want to roll over on you. This thing cuts through it. Just about the time you think you're going to stall it out, you give it the power, and it just gently pulls right out of it, and you're in full control. That's why he gets a 5 out of 5 in the air. It flies like a larger plane.
Yep.
The 4.5 over, well, let's go to the 3.5 on the
yeah.
ground, okay? 3.5 on the ground is mainly because it does not have a steerable tail wheel.
Yep.
And there's just, with these micros, you just don't have enough rudder to really influence it a lot until
Right.
you get moving off the ground or get moving pretty fast.
Yep.
And without a steerable tail wheel, one thing you're not going to find commonly on a micro is it's not going to break plane and get up on those mains real quick.
Not real
You know,
quick, no.
so
It's going to take a little bit.
it
I mean, you
takes-
can do it with some skill, but not from a trainer's perspective. When you're just
Exactly.
learning for the first time, you're not going to have that skill set to
Exactly.
get the tail off
Yeah.
the ground and steer it.
So yeah, you don't have much control on the ground. But between the 5+ in the air, the 3.5, we gave it a 4.5 as a general score, and it deserves it. It's a well-flying plane.
I think it's memorable as a flyer.
Sure it
truly.
is. Sure it is.
You know, we reviewed another product of Aries, which was their MD500.
Yeah.
And it stood out as a remarkable product.
Yeah.
From its flight characteristics. To me, the Trainer 100's done the same thing in the air
Exactly.
as a micro platform.
Yeah.
It truly stands out. If I had to say one of the best handling planes of this size, of this class that I've
Yeah.
ever flown, it'd have to be the Trainer 100.
Yeah.
And I think between the power and the power plant, like you'd mentioned, and then all the airfoil wing, it just
Yeah.
makes a complete difference. You're flying
It
a
does.
plane.
And
You're
this
actually
doesn't
flying an
have a
airplane.
real dramatic dihedral on it, which
No.
you don't need it for this. And I think that helps a lot in the turns.
Yep.
You
Well,
and
it's
I
full boat.
mentioned
You've got a rudder that seems to be amply influential, and you're right. It doesn't
Yeah.
have much of a dihedral, but it turns nicely.
it turns nicely, and you and I mentioned the first time we flew it that it almost flies like it has ailerons just with the rudder.
I know. I keep thinking it does.
Yeah,
That's why I said it's full boat.
they're
It's
not
actually
over accentuated banking turns that come
Yep.
back down. You know, it really is fairly flat.
Well, let's zip down through the rest of this
Yep.
flight time. Oh, we get a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, we got a long run time on this battery. This is what 150 milliamp battery, and it's
Yeah, it'll go and
ample
go and
time.
go. You'll get 2 of those, and you'll be up in the air nonstop
Yep.
practically. Field size, we're saying either gymnasium or your yard, backyard, side yard.
Yeah.
I think this is a good side yard flyer on
It
a
is.
calm day. So
I agree.
For a new flyer, let's go to the park.
Yeah, give it a
some
little
open
bit
area.
of room. You need
Yep.
some mistake room.
Yep, absolutely. Portability, give it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it drops right back in the box. The landing gear comes off extremely easy. Just pull
Yep.
it out, and it plops right in. Everything's all fit, and
And easy has a carry handle.
there you go.
Whenever you have a carry handle, you have to give it a 5 out of 5
to be.
usually. Skill level, the last thing, it's a beginner.
It is a
Truly
beginner,
is a
without a
plane.
doubt. It's a great trainer for anybody who wants to learn the basic flight, the characteristics of flight, and to understand what something does when you give it an input. You know, when you give it rudder, what's it going to do? When you give it elevator, what's it going to do? And this thing won't bite them by giving them a lot of false, something that they have to counteract
Right.
because of the movement.
Yeah, it's hard for a beginner to push forward on that stick. They don't want
Sure
to do
it
it.
is.
And
Yeah.
if they're constantly going into a stall condition, you're
Yep.
really fighting that learning
Yeah.
curve. So I would say, and I don't know if you'd agree or not, for a beginner, pop the landing gear off and just belly land
Oh,
it.
without a
just
doubt.
go out and fly it at
Without
a
a
park.
doubt.
Just burn the batteries through it and just get used to flying. And then later on, you can practice landing.
We've
and things
said it
like that.
before. When you are truly a beginner, the first time you've ever given any kind of plane flight, you don't need to put landings and takeoffs in that mix.
Yeah, that's the
You
hardest
don't.
thing to do. Yeah.
You just don't. I mean, that's something that you progress towards as you learn how to fly.
Keep it simple.
Yep.
Well, that wraps up our review of the Aries Ultra Micro Trainer 100. You can see the full review at our website at tubefly.com, or you can go to rcflightsource.com and download the mobile app and get all of our content on the go, as well as some unique content that isn't on the website as well.
That
Like
doesn't include your scrapbooking, does it?
no, I left
Okay.
that out. That's an update. That's a release coming up. Scrap. I'm Kurt with Two Brothers Hobby.
And I'm Rob. Thanks for watching.